So, that was a interesting episode. A nice combination of zaniness, nostalgia, and we learned stuff. So basically, Star Trek. Granted, I liked the tone of last week's episode better because it was more serious, but seeing all the DS9 stuff, especially Jake, because if you were wondering, Sarek Lofton, I think that's how you say his name, is playing Jake again. It's not like they got a different actor. It's Sarek Lofton. And if you didn't catch it, Avery Brooks was the one who did the monologue at the end. So, I wasn't sure at first, but yes, it is Avery Brooks. I was worried when they ended it with "Thank you, Avery," because I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? But no, he's fine. Anyway, so it turns out we learned a lot of interesting details about Sam. First off, Sam went from people thinking she was a weirdo to everyone really liking her. She went from "who the hell are you" to popular girl. So, at first I was very confused with her greeting to Occam, but then I remembered Betazoid greeting. It's fine. So, considering what he calls her makes me wonder if there's going to be something there between them. Since Jaden is apparently with Kyle, I don't think that was ever Jaden's intention. Jesus Christ, my mouth just stopped working. Anyway, because last episode, when he got really close with Remy, even though all they were doing were breathing exercises, he kind of freaked out. So maybe at that point he was already with Kyle and that's what freaked him out, as opposed to I'm very close to a male. It was more of I'm close to someone who isn't Kyle. Because of the way Kyle was openly flirting with Jaden at the bar. Now, of course, we had to have fun with drunk people by having Sam get drunk, or I should say get drunk, because Caleb invented something so he could influence her moods. Give her, put ideas in her head, like, this is what it's like to be drunk. And he immediately, when after the fight, the doctor was like, what's going on? Are you intoxicated? Caleb put it back to 0 so she would stop being drunk. And I'm just like, maybe you should have done that sooner. It's like, okay, you had a few minutes of being drunk and, back to normal. Or let's lower it so, you're pleasantly drunk and not, shit-faced. But no. And I'm sorry, after 12 shots and she was still functional, I realized that this wasn't really drunk because, it was just an influence. But I'm sorry, most people would have 12 shots and they would not be that functional. So, especially if they've never had a drink before in their life. So, yeah. I'm going to say of everything in Star Trek, that is the least believable thing. That she was able to be that coherent after 12 shots. So, um, she wants to find out what happened to Cisco, mainly because she wants to learn to become a better emissary, because the makers, are being absolute dicks to her, and basically threatening her, well, you're of no use to us if you don't give us what we want. I'm sorry, you guys were familiar with organics at one point, and they screwed you over. I'm sorry, at what point did you think that learning about them would be super easy? Because if you could do that, they wouldn't have used you before. That makes no sense. I mean, granted, it's been a while, so they probably don't remember. I mean, we don't know how long they live. Because, yes, they are holograms, but they're also organic, I guess. So, yeah, that was just super weird that they would not realize that learning about organics is not going to be super easy. Especially since, how is it that she's part organic, part hologram, and they know nothing about organics? I mean, this is one of those episodes where you really can't think about it too much because lots of questions. But anyway, so I saw one person, and that was me, who is already shipping Jaden and Kyle. Jaden seems very stiff compared to Kyle, so it's like, is he really into him, or is this more of a just, he just isn't, that he's just being a Klingon and they're not that emotive, at least, when it doesn't concern war. I mean, let's face it, when Worf had his relationships, he wasn't exactly lovey-dovey. So, some people in a group I'm in suggested that Jaden is on the spectrum, which I guess is possible. So, anyway, so she's trying to learn what it's like to be human, and everybody's trying to help her out, including this instructor in a class called something about the unknown. Understanding the unknown. I can't remember the name of the class. And basically she is her mentor, you could say, in her quest to find out more about Cisco. And we find out that she's a Trill, and not just a Trill, Dax. So, of course, she remembers Cisco. She remembers Ben. She remembers Jake. It's unclear whether Jake and Sam actually met. It was very hard to... I'm going to say no. Because, well, it was 800 years. Granted, he is part wormhole alien still. I mean, not to the extent as his father, because, that's how genetics works. He was half and half, so Jake would be a quarter. But, so I guess technically it's possible, but highly unlikely. So, we find out he was an author, which we already knew about. There was actually I think they actually did an episode of DS9 where Jake was trying to find his father where he actually said, um, where he actually said that he's a writer. Granted, it was more journalism, I guess, but still a writer. So the fact that he's an author shouldn't surprise anybody. So yeah, we hear Avery Brooks's voice. We meet Jake again. We meet Dax. I hope that they bring her on again. So um so she invites Sam to take her course, which, okay, does everybody just teach one course? What's going on? So yeah, Sam basically was given enough information about how to be an emissary to actually tell off the makers and say, this is what being an emissary is. I'm going to give you the information you need, but I'm going to do it on my own timeline because that's the only way we can do this, because organics are not that easy to understand. I need more time. Let me do it my way, and then you'll get the information you need. Which everybody was cool about it, that her job is to learn about organics because Cask is trying to figure out if these people are to be trusted, and the answer should be some are, some aren't, because people aren't a monolith. You don't get a monolith from a single race, let alone all organics. So yeah, the answer is maybe. Depends on who you talk to. Let me just do a quick speed run on Kerlik. Oh my god. So of course we had to have a complete and utter craziness. And it's the adults. So someone, I'm not sure, I don't remember the species, reached out to Kerlik about a alliance. And Ake initially, first off, she has to go there because there was some engineering problem. And the engineering problem is that Kerlik, cut out the power from whatever it was he was doing. He's trying to work to make this interaction work. To learn about this race of people so he can properly welcome them. Now, Ake is initially skeptical. Why is it that she wants to meet up with Kerlik? I really hope that there is a follow-up to this, so we find out exactly what she wants. Is this going to be legit, or is it going to be that she thinks that Kerlik is a fucking moron and she thinks that she can use him, that he'll be a useful idiot for her? So yeah, I would love for a follow-up on this to find out what actually happens, because we don't actually see the interaction, we just see the preparation. And because Ake is old enough that she's familiar with with how the interaction should go. She's familiar with it. Of course, the doctor is really familiar because, of course, he is. And Jet is just there. You know, I'm that, and considering how funny it was, I see why they used Reno instead of Thawk, instead of Laura. Simply because, well, I mean, Laura is funny, don't get me wrong, but not quite in the silliness as this. So, now, the fun thing is that I was kind of disappointed that they had Kurlik use a flute. Probably because was horribly bad at it. Because in reality, the actor, plays guitar. He's in a band. And I think it's more of a jazz band. But anyway, so obviously, he actually knows how to play guitar. So that's probably why they picked flute. I mean, I'm sure he could easily pretend to play guitar badly too, but. So yeah, I was kind of bummed that it was a flute and it was bad. Like Reno said, well, you played notes. And finally, he got so fed up with them laughing at the fish for basically acting like a whoopee cushion. Only you didn't have to actually sit on it. And Ake's trying to tell him, look, we have to have a truce and we have to get along because how we interact influences how the cadets interact, as opposed to being at each other's throats because they're supposed to be rivals or something. So it finally comes out that he's pissed off that she abandoned Starfleet. And it's like, do you know why? Do you understand why she left Starfleet? And she even pointed it out. It's like, you might want to, learn why people do shit that they do before you jump down their throats. And I, of course, loved it that she got him to sit down and then she basically pushed herself up so she was against his thigh. I honestly thought she was going to use his lap as a pillow. She did not, but I was expecting it. And, so, like I said, we just see them going to this interaction, which I'm so glad Ake is going with him. Now, whether she's just going to leave him to his own devices or she's going to be there to help him out when he invariably falters. And I'm not saying that he'll falter out of anything that he does, but it would be more of a, like I said, is this legit or is she playing him? So, yeah, like I said, I really, really hope there's a continuation, just like they brought up the prank war from a couple of episodes ago, where they're still upset with their prank. It's like, I'm sorry, you humiliated them. You humiliated Starfleet Academy cadets. But they're the bad guys for getting you back. Yep, you're acting like a bully. Can dish it out, but cannot take it. So yeah, if not next episode, in a couple of episodes or something, I'm expecting some sort of resolution, that we'll find out what happened, whether it worked out or whether it turned out that she was playing him or something else, or something in between. We don't know. So I do hope we find out a resolution to that. Let's see what else is there. I think I covered everything I wanted to in this episode. It's so disturbing that these people, except for the fact that they out and out said that Sam is 17, all these people seem like that they're of age. So it's very disturbing that I feel like I'm watching a high school drama comedy, a dramedy, because what the hell? You guys are too old for this. So it definitely is off-putting when that happens. Otherwise, I'm enjoying the themes. The themes of, learning about themselves without, the high school drama part. Let's see here. Now, when they had showed the last bar scene, I wasn't sure. Did we see Dumb and Dumber? Or did we just see Kyle? Maybe we saw Dumb and Dumber. But, let's see what else. I think I covered everything I wanted to in this episode. So with that, I will see you guys in the next one.